everyone, and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie, and this is the week 35, August the 25th through the 31st weekly wrap-up. As I said, this is the week 35, August the 25th through the 31st weekly wrap-up. I got a whole bunch of books to talk about. I read 14 books. I finished off my last week of review-a-thon. I participated in the first annual, or maybe just first ever, 24-hour Smutathon, and it just pushed my numbers out of control. So we're going to jump into it. Hopefully I remember to tell you what I'm currently reading, and yeah, because 14 books is a lot, and I'm not trying to make this video long. So the first book that I finished last week was Love and Other Wild Things, which is Mystic Bayou #2 by Molly Harper. I placed this in paranormal romance. I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I listened to it as an audiobook, and I read it for Romance Genre-a-thon. And this book follows Zed, who is the mayor of Mystic Bayou, and Danny, who comes to town to sort of assist the League with the rift that's going on in Mystic Bayou right now. And if you don't know anything about the series, Mystic Bayou is a super paranormal area in Louisiana that is attracting shifters and magique. And they are all coming there to either live their lives in peace with the humans, or to, you know, come to find out people are trying to get powers. There are some adults that have never lived there, or that lived there all their lives, and then all of a sudden they're coming up with power. So this is Danny and Zed's story. There is some mystery that goes along with it, and there is also a sort of fun twist on the things that Danny has going on in her life. She's sort of this wanderer, and when she gets to Mystic Bayou, she feels a little bit more at home because of the things that she's going through there. The next book that I finished was Mr. and Mrs. by Alexa Riley. I place this in erotic novella. I give it 4 stars. I give it 3.5 Steam fans. I read this as an ebook, just as like a cleanser palette, something quick that I could get through. And this book follows Molly and Philip, and they are a married couple. However, something happens and Molly ends up sort of running away, and then ends up getting into an accident, and Philip has to make Molly fall in love with him all over again. It's quick, it's fun, it's sexy, and I really enjoyed it. It was a great palette cleanser, like I said. The next book that I finished was Sin and Ink, Sweetest Taboo #1 by Naima Simone. I placed this in interracial romance contemporary. I give it 4 stars. I give it 5 Steam fans. I read this as an ebook. This is a Black author, and I also read it for a Polycon 20 in 20 challenge. She will be at a Polycon. I'm really excited to see her. So this book follows Knox, who is a former MMA fighter, and his brother ends up getting killed during one of those fights, and Eden is, so now he is a tattoo artist and runs a tattoo shop. Super sexy. And Eden is Knox's brother's widow. Ooh, such a mouthful. So much going on in this. So this story is sort of taboo. It's that I'm lusting after my dead brother's widow, and I can't cross that line, but I really want to. And she's like, I can't cross the line with my brother-in-law, and the two of them back and forth. The sexual chemistry is crazy. The only reason I gave it lesser stars is because they kept bringing up the dead brother, and it got really annoying to me. But this is a book that you need to read all the way to the end, because then the reason why they keep bringing up the dead brother is cleared up, and it makes it a little bit better. But by the time it got to that clear point for me, I was already annoyed, and yeah. The next book that I finished was Party of 3 by Sandy Lowe. I placed this in erotic LGBT, and I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 5 Steam fans. I read this as an arc for Review-a-thon from NetGalley. This book follows Sarah, Avery, and Caitlin. They are 3 lesbians, but they're also best friends in this girl group, and they have to attend, well, they don't really have to, but they're attending a party for one of the wannabe group girls that you know, they went to school with. It's her birthday party. They're much older. I want to say they're like 30. Actually, I think they may have been older than that, but each woman gets their own story to either find love, to reconnect with a loved one, or to understand sort of, you know, the love that may have been misplaced and things like that. So I really, really enjoyed it. It was super hot. Super hot. And I was here for it. If you're looking for a female-female romance, this would be the book to pick up. The next book that I finished was Thicker Than Water by Dylan Allen. I placed this in contemporary. I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to this as an audiobook. This is a Black author, and this book follows Lucia, who is a undocumented writer. She writes a book about the situations about sort of her life, but it's fiction, and she puts just enough of her real life into it, and she really wants to get it made into a big motion picture. Well, in walks Reese. Reese has read the book to a point and really wants to make this movie because he is a former Olympic swimmer, and he got injured, and then he had to take over his parents' studio. They're Hollywood royalty. They really have a foothold in the Hollywood scene and everything like that. So the two of them end up coming to a deal and working together to get this book turned into a movie. Along the way, they find out that there are secrets between the two of them, and there is a very big, I guess you could say, theme when it comes to, or storyline for, undocumented immigrants in the United States. Normally, I'm not into having political agendas or political issues in my books, but this one was very concentrated. It stuck with the issue of undocumented immigrants, and it didn't stray off onto different tangents. It stuck with that main issue and balanced, I guess you could say. I don't know that the other side of the story was actually, you know, given. There was someone that gave an opinion about it, but it wasn't like it was getting, I wasn't getting knocked over the head about the issues. The next book that I finished was Book Boyfriends #1 by Claire Kingsley. I placed this in contemporary. I give it 5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to this as an audiobook, and I believe this was recommended to me either by Lauren over at the Novel Lush or Bree, but I actually talked to Bree and she said she didn't. She's gonna try and pick it up though, which I definitely highly think you guys should pick it up as well. This book follows Alex, who is a guy that was a code writer, and he ends up having some family bills that he needs to help take care of. He's also a aspiring writer, and come to find out, he writes better as a romance writer under a female pen name. So he has been doing this and it's been very lucrative. Well, one day he ends up meeting this woman and he is like enthralled with her, thinks she's great, she's quirky, she's nerdy, and that is Mia. Mia also has sort of a dual life going on where she is a book blogger, but she's also has a regular life with, you know, her name and everything like that. Well, these two have interacted as Alex, the romance writer, who is Lexi, and Mia, the book blogger, who is Book Babe or BB. And yeah, so this is sort of that, what happens when your two worlds collide? Can those secrets be overcome? And can you find love through all that? So I had fun. I laughed out loud so many times. It is so funny. So funny. And I just really, really enjoyed this book. The next book that I finished was Song of Blood and Stone Earthslinger Chronicles #1 by L. Penelope. Fantasy. I place this in fantasy, and I give it 3 stars. I give it 1 Steam fan. I read this as an ARC because I actually got a physical ARC. I think I won it a couple years ago, and I'm finally getting to read it. This is a Black author, and I read it for Romance Genreathon as well. Oh, this is not this book just put another nail in the coffin of why I am not a fantasy reader. There were so much going on. First of all, you have Jasminda and Jack. Jasminda is this sort of outlanding woman that is, the world is divided in two, and you have people that have this magic about them, and then you have people that don't have a magic about. There was so much going on. There was just so much going on. And then there was like folk stories added in there in between the chapters, and I just didn't know where I was supposed to focus or who I was supposed to focus on. Secrets are revealed and craziness. By the time I got to the end of the book, I was like, what did I just read? What and why should I care? The next book that I finished was Date Night by Meghan Quinn. I placed this in rom-com. I give it 5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I listened to it on the podcast of Read Me Romance. I love Meghan Quinn. Meghan Quinn has not failed me to bring funny, sexy together in a great way and keep me enthralled. Even in this little short story, Alex and Lauren are a married couple, and every month they pick a day. They ship their kid off to a character that we already know, which was fine. But, they plan out these elaborate ways to role play in their lives, and this is one of their date nights, and I thought it was amazing. Amazing. You have a guy that's playing a cowboy, sort of farmhand, not cowboy, a farmhand, and that's completely different from his everyday accounting life. And mom, Lauren, I think she's the stay-at-home mom, but she may actually have a job, I can't remember. But she, makes this elaborate thing, and he's enamored with her boobs, and it was just so much fun. So much fun. If you just want to laugh out loud, check this book out. The next book that I finished was Sugar by Mila Hart. I place this in erotic novella. I give it 4 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I read this as an ARC, so there may be some changes in the cover. Obviously, you guys are only getting the ARC cover. The cover doesn't release for a couple more days. And the book doesn't actually come out for a couple weeks. So, yeah. I'm super excited to read the finished copy as well, but this copy that I did read was amazing. So you have Peyton, who is a pre-law student, and she is doing what she has to do to make her life better. She is getting good grades. She is working 2 or 3 jobs, while her best friend decides to let her in on a secret of how to make a little bit more money by using this dating app called Sugar. You sort of get sugar daddies, but you don't have to sleep with them unless you want to, and then that's completely off the books. But of course, hey, whatever. And then you have Jake, who uses the app, hires Peyton, and they really hit it off sort of that first date, but there are some issues. There's Jake's father, there's some legal issues that are going on, and one of them feels like they've been ghosted after their first date, and then it sort of rolls from there. I was intrigued by it. I was mad at Jake for a little while. I was mad at Peyton for being sort of petty, and then it was great. I loved it. And I can't wait to read the finished version as well. The next book that I finished was Engaging the Enemy, Bourbon Brothers #3 by Reese Ryan. I place this in contemporary. I give this book 5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I read this as an ARC. I had this ARC for a long time. I don't know why I was like sitting on it and waiting to read it, but I did. I'm sorry. Reese is a Black author, and I wanted to read this. I had started it for Smutathon, but then I ended up getting it finished before Smutathon 24-hour readathon started, so I can't really count it for Smutathon, but I sort of can, and I'm going to. So, yeah, actually, I finished this one at the beginning of Smutathon readathon, so 24-hour readathon. So yeah, I'm counting it. This book follows Kaylee, who is a jewelry maker in this small town, and her and Parker, who is our male character, have a history from when they were childhood friends. Well, Parker wanted to be popular. His family is well-to-do in the town. He needs to get Kaylee's store that she has for her jewelry to finish out, sort of show his family that he can do the CEO position of the family, take over the family business and everything like that, even though he's not the firstborn. And he has to convince Kaylee to sell to him. But with their history as children, because they had a friendship and then they became enemies because Parker didn't know how to keep his mouth shut, and wanting to be popular back when he was a child, he said some things that were very hurtful to Kaylee. Well, one of the stipulations is for them to fake date and sort of fake fiance thing, and I was here for it. Kaylee, puts Parker through the ringer when it comes to proving himself. They have a dog, well, she has a dog, and I was here for it. I really enjoyed this story. It does make me want to go back and read the first 2 books in this series of standalones. I don't think it's needed to understand and gather everything that goes on in this book, but I would like to hear some of the things that went on prior to. There are some family secrets that aren't revealed, or that are revealed within this story, and some feelings start to change after those secrets are revealed, which I was here for. The next book that I read was Drive Me Wild, which is Riggs Brother #1 by Julie Kriss. I place this in New Adult. I give it 3.5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I listened to this as an audiobook. It was gifted to me, or given to me as an audiobook for a ARC review, I guess you could say, an ARC audio review. It just came out on audiobook and I got to listen to it. I did read this for Smutathon as well because it was quick, it was fast. So I was in love with this story the first like 5 minutes because it's set in Michigan, which I love. Y'all know I love some Michigan. I mean, hello. But it's a small town in Michigan, and this is a small town girl, leaves but has to come home because of family issues. Her mother is the sheriff of the town, and her sister, her twin sister, is having family issues. Everybody in the family is having issues, so that's why she came back to town. Plus, she had some issues with some boyfriends, so she came back to town to sort of get herself back together. Then you have Luke Riggs, who is part of the town's family of bad boys. They live on the other side of the tracks, like literally live on this other side of the tracks. It's mentioned like 5 or 6 times that they lived on the other side of the tracks. So this is sort of that opposites attract. Well, when Luke and Emily were 18 years old or so, she was like, I'm gonna hook up. They hooked up when they were younger, and now this is like 8 years later, and now they're both back in town, and they're finding each other again. The thing for me with this book was that it was good to a point until it started to repeat itself, giving me a whole bunch of information that had already been like hashed out like 2 or 3 chapters prior to. So I just got this deja vu feel. There was also an introduction of a whole bunch of characters. You get to know pretty much all of the Riggs brothers, and I was like, okay, that's cool that they introduced them, you know, here in chapter 3 or 4, but why am I still hearing about them in chapter 15 or 16 and like being described them, things about them? Oh, this one's a baseball player and he has a kid. It was like, you already told me that. You already told me that. Get on with Emily and Luke's story, please. I'm not here for the brother stories. I'm here for Emily and Luke stories. The next book that I finished was Desperately Seeking a Roommate by Micalea Smeltzer. I place this in New Adult. I give this book 5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I listened to it as an audiobook for Smutathon 24-hour readathon, and this book follows Lowe, who is living in, I don't know if it's on-campus housing or just off-campus housing, but she's in college, and her nasty little landlord guy decides to raise her rent, so she ends up saying, you know, hey, I gotta get a roommate. So she puts an ad in the college paper, and Abel ends up answering that ad, and pretty much everything is about fate with them. I love the banter between the two of them. I loved how everything was wrapped up. It was so amazing. It was funny in all the right places. It was sweet in all the right places, and they find out that they have more of a connection than they thought they did, and it really is about fate and how fate likes to bring people together, and also how fate can, you know, sort of play a part and play on people's insecurities and things like that. So I just really enjoyed this book. I can't wait to read the next book. I'm not exactly sure who the next book is about, but any of the characters that were brought up in this book, I would love to hear more about in another book. The next book that I finished was Misadventures of a Curvy Girl by Naima Simone. I place this in erotic menage. I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 5 Steam fans. I listened to this as an audiobook for Smutathon. And this book follows Ireland, who is a marketing person. She really wants to be a photographer or journalist, photojournalist, but she feels down about her body shape and about her weight and about her, you know, how her body type is, because she's a big girl, and she sort of has self-love but doesn't really have self-love. Well, she's in Kansas, so she was in the city, and then she gets an assignment to go out to the country of Kansas, and she meets Caleb and Ben. Caleb and Ben are farm boys, and I was here for it. Yes, 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 yes. They are in a relationship, but they're also looking for their third, hence meeting Ireland, and they pretty much envelope her into, you know, into their lifestyle, and, you know, being that she really sort of gives that body positive thing, even though there's some doubt in her mind about, you know, why they would want her, even though she's a big girl and, you know, carrying some extra pounds, whatever you want to call it. It was really body positive and sex positive for most of the book, and then they end up having a story placed in the news where there's a picture of the two of them, and some old feelings start to come up, and then it got kind of heavy and got kind of, just overwhelmed me with the body negativity issues and insecurities and things like that. And I was like, wait a second, for 80% of this you sort of overcame all that, and now one little article spirals you into madness. And I was like, overall, I enjoyed it. I loved the whole body positivity and the sex positivity that went along with it, but it got a little overwhelming. So in the end, this is what we get. Then the final book that I read last week was Even Tree Nymphs Get the Blues, Mystic Bayou 2.5 by Harper. This is a paranormal romance. I give it 4 stars. I give it 1 Steam fan. This is a novella within the Mystic Bayou series. I listened to it as an audiobook, and I read it for Smutathon, also for Romance Genreathon. And this book follows Ingrid, who is a tree nymph, and Rob, who is a mathematical scientist for the League in Mystic Bayou. And Ingrid comes to town to open an ice cream shop or creamery, what have you, and the two of them sort of are enamored with each other. Rob is this sort of quirky, weird guy that people want to like, but he does some things that are like, I don't know. It was a quirky book, and I enjoyed being back in Mystic Bayou. Did it bring a little extra to the series? Maybe a little. It was like really short. It was only like 3 hours, so it definitely is just a little novella, a little tidbit about another couple in the city. It didn't really add anything to the mystery of Mystic Bayou, but that's okay. So there's that. That was the last book. On to what I am currently reading. I am currently reading Take Me Down by Julie Kriss, which is the second book in the Riggs Brothers series. And I'm enjoying this one a little bit more. This one follows Jace. He is the brother that is the ex-con, and he was assigned a psychologist or something like that. But to help him sort of readjust back into civilian life after being in prison for a good 2 years or so. And I'm here for this story. I'm enjoying it. And I like that the whole repeating of information hasn't come up too much. There is still some. There is still some. So it's a little annoying, but it is much less than it was in the first book. So hopefully I will continue to enjoy this one. This one seems to be shorter than the last one. So I'm like, I just hope we stay with the couple that is supposed to be. It's what, you know, the couple that it's supposed to be about. I am also reading Selkies Are a Girl's Best Friend. And this is, we're back in Mystic Bayou by Harper. And this is the third book. This book follows Sonia. So Sonia has been this mysterious sort of character in the first 2.5 books. And I'm really interested in getting into her story. It was just released over on Audible as an Audible original, so I'm really excited to jump into it because Harper has me all up in Mystic Bayou and all about the magic and things like that. So I'm excited to know Sonia's little secrets there. Okay, so that is what I read last week, all 14 books. Ooh, lots of them, right? And what I am currently reading, let me know if you have read any of those books, what your thoughts on them are down in the comments section. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys later.